Hey, hi. We are here to build a small school announcement, bells, and paging system for a school with 3 year levels and an admin building in it. This will be to introduce a couple of new components to you in QSYS, namely the virtual page station and the Zone PA router. These are two new elements. We're going to use them today. These are also useful if you're going to do the first assessment, the theatre paging system. These can be an elegant solution to that. So if everyone can open their designer software. Always takes a little time. So the idea of the PA router is it is a way of attaching a single networked component to many different audio sources without using your audio channels count. So it's very useful for multiple devices and multiple zones. In fact, it can have up to 128 stations attached to it and 256 zones, but there is only one PA router allowed per design. All right, so let's inventory ourselves up, please. We need to get 3 more IO22s in, please. So just 1, 2, 3, click there, that's good. These will be in our zones. So first of all, in our inventory over to the left, let's just get ourselves set up here. I'm going to have a flex in over here. I'll take a flex out and put it over here. As you can see, the lines help you to keep them in line. There's a couple of other components that I want to have. Let's put the line outs for the other 3 zones from each of these IO22s. And put them on our screen. Now you'll notice that I've done that a bit rubbish and they're not exactly lined up well. There's a way around that. If you select all of those, remember in QSYS the way to select is from right to left. It's the best way. If you then right click, you come to these little devices here, which are distribute buttons. There's also pack buttons, but distribute's really useful. And if you vertical distribute center, watch what happens to those 3 line outs. They even up, they look a bit nicer. It's just a nice way of presenting. We also need an audio player, so I'm just going to put one in. The search, I like the search. So we'll put that down here. Again, the lines help us keep it neat. So now I'm going to introduce you to these 2 new components. I'm going to go into our schematic elements library using the search function because it's a good thing to get used to. The first thing we are going to want is a virtual page station, and it comes up. So we're going to put that in here. It's very nice. Now you'll notice that it only has one pin, and it's not an audio pin. It is a control pin. It is one of these little triangles. All the rest of these are circles. They are audio tracks, if you will, but this is a control pin. There's nothing to hook it up to yet because we need to also put in, also from the public address folder, PA router, which comes up here. Now when I pull it in, it's rather large. We don't need it to be this large. As we know, one of the ways to get it to be modified for the design we want is to click on it, and over in the right hand side here we have the properties. I want a single station count, and I'd like 4 zones, please. Lovely. It looks a little different than it started out as. Let's put that together. Now you'll notice that I can connect this control pin directly to that control input, which is the station 1 control. I'm also going to use channel 1 on my flex in as a microphone input to that zone. When I go here, I can also add BGM channels. You can put 2 here for stereo. Don't put a input per zone. We definitely don't want that because that will give us lots and lots of different zones. We don't necessarily want that. That's to route different BGM to different zones in a facility. We don't need to do that. Let's just hook that also up. Zone 1, I'm going to put to the flex out, which is on number 5. I'll explain why I'm doing that. The flex has 8 IO points. They can be either ins or outs. I'm electing to use the first 4 as ins and the last 5 as outs, generally speaking, in our designs, default designs that we'll be doing in class. So that's why I've gone to channel 5 as the out. For zone 1, zone 2, I'm going to put to a mono channel there. We're going to assume mono speakers in the zones. That's fine. We'll just use the left-hand side, which is a default setting for those kinds of devices. And we are only sending bells and spoken words, so there's some background music, but it doesn't matter if it's in mono. That's fine, because we're going to phase align all of our connections, aren't we? The left will go to the left, the right will go to the right, and that way we won't have problems when we have to sum things. Very good. All right, so we have set up the basic idea. Let us open up the PA router and have a look at what we have. Okay, it's quite interesting. So I'm going to zoom out. By the way, zoom, if you're on a PC, you hold down control and you use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out on your mouse. On a Mac, I believe it is the command key. No, anyway, whatever it is on a Mac. I don't have one in front of me, I'm sorry. It's the outside bottom key on your laptop. You can see we have zones here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're not named at the moment. Obviously, we can mute each individual zones, gain individual zones. We have a squelch here. Squelch is rather interesting. Squelch is like you can set priorities for messages, for stations, for users, and you can override messages from one source with another depending on their priority is basically the best way to put it. At the moment, we don't have to worry about squelch because we're in a single system. But squelch might be something you would use if you had, as part of this zone system, a corporate boardroom for private meetings and high-level meetings. You wouldn't want the food truck announcement to go to the boardroom, for example. So you might set a priority that those messages are only sent below a certain priority, and that zone never ever receives those messages due to its default priority. There's more to that. If you want to look at it, there is plenty of QSIS wealth of information online about priority setting, and a fairly robust video, which is actually included in your Canvas for this lesson. So if you want to review those things, I don't want to waste any more time on that at the moment. The other place you might have found squelch as a concept is in RF. If you have hashy RF, as in it's making a little bit of buzz and crackle on your audio signal because it's a bit noisy and a bit chaotic, you can squelch, which acts like a noise gate and cuts that hash out from your audio signal. That's sort of the other place you might find squelch. Again, it will show you if the zone is squelching or if it's active, if there's a message going to one or all zones, where the source is and what the priority is. That all gets displayed in this. You have separate settings for paging and messaging. These are two separate modes for our virtual page station. And then we have background music selections up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to emulate and show you what that looks like when it's emulating, because you'll see it's populated with a few things. There's no squelch now. We have gains of 0 dB, -12. These are sort of default settings. That's fine. The BGM ducker is interesting. This will, if there's BGM playing, which you might do in the lead up to coming back from recess or coming back from lunchtime, you might have some background music that sort of alerts the teachers and the students that it's coming up to time to go back into class. This was a thing that happened at my primary school for sure, and some of my high schools as well. So that might be where it is. When the actual bell or message comes in, it will automatically duck down that background music to allow the announcement page or bell tone to be heard in the loudspeaker in all zones or under the zone you're sending to. So that's what the ducker does. All right, so this is kind of set up. You'll notice that there's zones here, but if I try and name these here, nothing will happen. This has to be addressed in a different part of QSIS Designer, the administrator. So let's get into that now because we can. We'll disconnect. and we are going to go to Tools. Oh, sorry, we are not going to go to Tools. We are going to Emulate once more. Sorry about that. Common mistake. Administrator will only work when we are emulating. Anyway, so there we go. So now we go to Administrator. If you open that, this will come up, and you will see in here we have our page station has come up. Yep. And the PA zones. We can now name those if we want to. So I am going to name them. I'm going to double click in here and I'm going to call zone 1 admin. You'll notice this has come up. Don't bother updating yet because we're going to name all the zones before we do that. This will be year 1. This will be year 2. And this will be year 3. Good. So now we update. And if we go back to our design, you'll see the zones have actually become the zones that we just named, which is very cool. So now we know where things are going. RTA is not available when emulating zone 1 audio. Okay, so let's disconnect now. See, it still just says zone 1 here. We would have to label that if we wanted to make it beautiful. We can do that another time. Let's now have a look at our virtual page station. Oh, that's kind of got a lot of controls on it, doesn't it? Very cool. But as you can see, it's fairly robust. It will do what it's supposed to do. I'm just going to emulate so we can see it, what it does, so to speak. Okay, so now it's active. We can select our zones from here. They're not named in the virtual page station. That would have to be done a different way. We can select all of them, clear all, zone 4, which of course is year 3. That's admin. We can live, which is basically a live message, and we can select a zone. Once we select a zone, it's going. This should come up. Please select priority. We need to select a priority. Let's go background. Now we're ready to talk. If I press talk, if there was a mic going in now, we would have 60 seconds to deliver to these 3 zones, is what is happening right now. If I go to message, I can then, if I'm on a call, not in emulation mode, put a preamble, like a little tone, a ding dong, to let them know that a message is coming through, and then you would select your messages here. This is to not be worried about too much. This is about how to handle messages in a very, very frantic and chaotic messaging system among multiple floors of a building, for example, where you would set priorities and what it would do if it gets knocked back, if it tries again, if it splits up and goes to different zones and different priorities, those kinds of things. You can set that. We don't need to worry about that. And we're going to clear all. There's also a couple of other versions in here about delaying the message for a certain time, automatically scheduled messages or loop messages. This would be playing in the foyer of the atrium of a building where people are pulling up to park, and say, no parking here, please move around the corner to the red zone for parking. For example, you might do that with a loop message and have that playing in one area all the time, or for any number of things. These are a lot of different ways you can run the virtual page station. But as you can see, we now have that virtual page station running the zones in here, in our PA router, to our physical outputs. So for all intents and purposes, we are now wired up in our design. But now we have to give our users some access to it, which would be great. I'm going to disconnect. And we can see that there's not really very much in here that we would want a user, let's say a school secretary or a assistant or a vice principal, to have to worry about dealing with. We really only want them to be able to use this. So one of the temptations we have when we are creating a user control interface, which is what we're going to do now, we're going to go down here on the left to user control interface. We're going to hit plus to create a new one. And now we have one here. We're now in the interface 1, the user control interface page. Our schematic is back here in page 1. If we slip back to it, you'll see it's there, and here's our interface. First of all, I would like to make sure that we are on the right type of panel, and the default for this course is iPad, because I do have a license to push out to iPad, which hopefully we'll be able to implement by the time we are testing your assessments. We would like to use iPad, and it's just a good habit to get into to be default iPad. Now we're going to make a very simple UCI here, and one of the easiest ways to do that is just copy everything from this and just drop it all onto the UCI. You can just pick up the tab and drop it in, and that looks like a really good thing. Until you realize that you probably actually don't want all of this stuff available to your user. In fact, it's probably works against you to have that. So I think we need to figure out the controls that we do need, and that would definitely be zone selection, and a select all and clear all will also be useful. So let's grab those, just those, and pull them over here. That's cool. We want the talk and cancel buttons, definitely. But we don't need any of the timing buttons or any of those things. We probably want our message line, which is actually the second one to choose a message. And we want a mode as well, but I don't really want them to have access to the whole 5 options there. I think that's confusing. I just really want them to be able to either page, which is they speak into the mic to send a message that is time specific to a certain zone or all zones, or announcements, bells, basically messages. So that will have announcements and messages will be pre-recorded and able to be played on that system, but also the bells. You'll have to do them manually here for the moment, but we could set up a schedule to do auto bells as well. That's a different type of situation. So we don't actually want this yet. Let's put these up as well, just so we've got them. Very cool. All right, I'm going to get rid of the rest of this. So you just select it all. Again, right to left is the best way. And just hit delete, and you've got rid of all that. So now we can, whoops, I don't want to do that necessarily, although I could fix it up later. We could put the zones down here. Let's put these next to that. You might want to just make these a bit bigger. Why not? As you can see that. We have talk and cancel here. Let's put them, whoops, just want to line up. Very good. We line this one up as well. That's pretty cool. Excellent, and I want to have the message bank available to them as well. So let's maybe put that up there like that, and we'll put this message bank over here, line it all up. Whoops, line it up. There we go. Very good. Open that up so it's a bit bigger, and people can manipulate and select different messages. That's important to be able to do. Let's put these up here as well, just so we know that we have our busies and our whatevers. That's very good. There we go. All right, sort of ish. Good. Make these a bit bigger, maybe. That's fine. And let's rename these guys for a start. Let's click in there, and we'll call this admin. Let's call this year 1. Two. 3. And bigger too, just so that's we're making a user interface here, so we can probably afford to give them plenty of surface area to work on. Yes, why not? Now you'll notice that the writing in all of these is a bit unreadable on our thing, so let's just select them all, and we can go over here and we can change the font size. Let's make it 18. Let's double the size. Oh, that's pretty good. Let's change the font because we can. Why not? I like Lato. That's a nice looking font to me. I don't know why I like it, but anyway. We can do bold, which works really well. But I want them to be able to um, send a message or a live page and not have to have that drop down menu that we had in the other device. So let's go back to our schematic. I'm going to nick this off for a second. And I want to introduce you to yet another component, which we're going to use to lock in only 2 options on those out of those 5 options on our virtual page station. So we're going to limit what the user can do, but we're going to base it on what that default setting is on that component. So we're going to look for an item called the selector. There's my magpies all having a go. We're looking for selector. There it is. We're going to put a selector over here. So this is an interesting little device. It doesn't really do much on its own. You have to tell it what to do, but you can basically set up a label and have a value here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the properties of the virtual page station on display, and I'm going to go down to these control pins. Let's put these out the way for the moment. And what we want to find is mode, because we're going to use mode. We're going to access the mode pin with our selector. So I'm going to put the selector down here, and I'm going to actually directly attach them like that. Now let's emulate for a second. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I'm going to call this live, which is paging, live page. It doesn't matter what the label is, it's just what you're telling it. And I'm going to call that live. Down here, I'm going to call message bell. And for that, I'm going to call it message. Okay, great. So what I want to do, I'm just going to open up the page station so you can see. And I want you to watch this little box here when I emulate. When I hit this, it's gone to live. And when I hit this, it goes to message. So if I stop emulating, if I now grab these 2 buttons, oops, I just want those 2 buttons, thank you, and drop them on my interface over here. I now have a way to do, well, let's set these both up to begin with, as being 18, Lato, bold. I'm going to call this live page, and I'm going to call this message bell. Okay, good. Let's emulate and see what we have. All right, let's clear all. Okay, now we don't have that. Let's go to message bell. We have to select a zone to go to, and now we can play a message. The message will play with the preamble, and then the message will play. If this is a bell, it will be a bell labeled message that we pull up in this drop-down screen here first. Great. So then we go to live page. I'm also on admin, but I could add other year levels for this. And now I have the talk button, and I'll have a little preamble, which will cut into the background music, whatever that is. And then I can speak over to all of the staff and students in the school using this message. And I have 60 seconds. If we go back to you'll see it's counting down here. So that's basically our little school announcement system. I hope that made some sense and has introduced you to a few new components: the virtual page station, the PA router, and the selector. Aren't they fabulous little control devices? You're starting to see how complicated and looking for the right word, but it's you can force it to be many different things and do things different ways if you think about and use components together in an intelligent way. So this is a much more complex design than the one we did last week, where we were just bussing music to and from different zones. We're now actually able to load in announcements and use two different zones. Oh, there we go. We just ran out of time on the page out. And we're going to move on from here in the next lesson, where we're going to design a full PA system with monitors attached and do all of the system processing inside QSys. And we're going to up our design factor as well. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoy. Have a good day. Bye.